I think one of the worst things about stacking gold and silver, and I'm sure many of you have either thought this or said it or are probably going to agree with me, but one of the worst things is the fees involved with getting physical gold and silver. Now, unlike a stock or even cryptocurrency, if that's what you're into, you just can't log into an app. You can't just log into your Robinhood account and order some physical silver. You can order paper silver, but we all know that paper and gold silver is not the reason that we stack. It's totally different from what we are doing here. To get it physically into your hand, you have to pay additional fees. You have to pay sometimes shipping fees. You have to pay premiums. And depending on the state that you're in, you even have to pay sales taxes. And it's really absolutely ridiculous. And I wanted to talk about that today and share with you some of the ways that you can avoid a lot of those fees. Although unfortunately, because of where you might be living, some places you cannot avoid all of them. But I wanted to start by sharing with you a comment and a conversation that I had with a viewer just the other day. And this comes from the video where I said that I would basically back the truck up if silver got back under the 30 and consistently stayed there for a while. I'm not talking about the little dips, but I'm talking if it stayed physically under 30 for a while, if it was consistently there. That was the video. And this guy said, he said, so when I look at the big SD dealers, and I'm not sure what he means by SD. Does he mean SD Bullion, which is my channel sponsor? Did he mean different letters? I don't get it. But anyway, he said, when you look at the big, I'm going to assume that means online dealers, and see what they would charge me. They want to charge me extra to use a debit card. Retailers also want to charge me to spend money. Anyone sane out there? Why are Americans paying extra money to spend money? Add tax and premiums on top, right? Goodbye. Now that comment comes from a very, very real place. It is echoed by so many people who don't stack gold and silver for the same reasons he just said there. And there are a lot of fees when it comes to stacking gold and silver. And if you think about them and if you add them all up, and if you don't take every step that you can to avoid a lot of them, it makes sense that you would feel just like he does. And so we had a little conversation. Let me share with you how I responded at first and give you the next thing that he said. Now, I'm not going to read this entire response. It's too long, but basically what I'm talking about here, and feel free to pause and read if you want, is how the credit card companies actually charge businesses to use the cards. It's not free for them. And so while a lot of businesses like Walmart and whatever will roll that fee into their prices, bullion companies generally do not. They charge it extra if you use it and then give you options where you don't have to use it if you don't want to. And I'll talk a bit in this video about how big those fees can be, especially on small margin items like bullion. And he went on to respond, okay, and then he put in parentheses, just spend over 3%, so we're talking about the credit card fees again, plus 6% taxes, so he's talking about sales taxes. Since when do Americans approve of giving up nearly 10% of their money to spend the money they paid income taxes on? People these days just don't think. Again, I 100% agree with the premise of his comments. I don't disagree at all. It is ridiculous to imagine that you're going to pay over 10%. And if you buy less than 200 from a lot of online retailers, which we're going to cover in a second, you could pay well over 10% if you pay that shipping fee. So we'll go over kind of what that means in a second. But he makes a very, very real point here. I did have one more reply though, where I said, Bruce, I don't pay sales taxes on bullion. And it's the states, by the way, and I said this in the comment, feel free to pause and read it. It's the states that choose whether or not they're going to tax bullion and have sales taxes at all. And he's 100% right to be angry here. 100%, in my opinion, taxing bullion is unconstitutional because it's real money. Actually, to be honest with you, the way that we are taxed as a society in the US as US citizens is theft already. Think about it. We are double taxed already because you have an income tax, which by the way is not a payment because you don't pay it. They take it out of your paycheck. That's a jack, good sir. They are taking that from you before you even get a chance to pay it. So they take the money from your paycheck, and then after that money's already taxed, you pay sales taxes, or you pay property taxes. Property taxes are ridiculous. You don't own anything in this country. You don't own a house in this country. Are you kidding me? Of course not, because if you don't pay your property taxes on that property, they can come and take it from you. You don't, unfortunately, own anything. It's ridiculous. But as far as sales taxes on gold and silver, I mean, unconstitutional, should be illegal. All 50 states should have banned it already. Fortunately, we are seeing a movement where states are dropping sales taxes on gold and silver. Just happened recently in Arkansas and a couple of other states as well. But if you live in one of those states, unfortunately, that is not something you're going to be able to avoid. However, let me show you some of the fees that you can avoid when it comes to stacking gold and silver and ways that you can save as much money as possible to get that physical gold and silver into your hand right now. So how I want to do this is I want to go online to an online retailer and see what it would cost me to order 5 or 6 ounces of silver. And we're going to do that by going to my channel sponsor, SD Bullion's website. So a huge thank you to them for sponsoring the channel, but you could do this on basically any online retailer. But we're going to go to their deals page because I know they have maples on sale for as low as $1.99 over spot. Now, the first thing I want to point out here is that it says as low as. Now, what that means is that to get the as low as price, we'll click on it and you can take a look. You would have to spend a certain amount of money or buy a certain quantity of silver. So here's a perfect example right here. If you were to order $1 or 1 ounce to 99 ounces, you would pay $33.62. And that actually comes out, if you look up here at spot price, to $2.49 over spot as opposed to $1.99. To get the $1.99 or $33.12, you would be buying 100 ounces or more. Now, the reason they do that, and you may or may not agree with it, is because of labor. So if you were to ship out 100 maples and it was to one person, it would cost a lot less labor and time than if you had to ship out 2 maples to 50 different people. So you can agree with it or disagree with it. That's totally up to you, but that's why they do that. Basically, they're saying, hey, if you buy so much with us, we will give you a discount. But there is something that's going to cost you a lot more than not being able to get the as low as, and that's this right here. Look at the credit card fees. So this is credit card PayPal. You can see if we were to send them a check or wire to pay for these, we'd be paying $33.62 for our 5 or 6 that we're going to buy today. If we used a credit card, we're paying well, it went up. So it went up to $35.02 to $35.03. But if you use a credit card, you're actually going to pay $1.40 more, which comes out to around 4%. I think it's actually 4%. It just so happens that that's $35.03. But you're going to pay around 4% more than if you just sent them a check or wire. And that is a huge difference that can be easily avoided by just giving them a check or paying via wire. And it's not as hard as it sounds. In fact, it's actually quite easy because all you have to do is go to checkout, mark that you're paying with a check, and then mail them the check. They'll even give you instructions. And then you'll have to wait longer than if you paid credit or debit card, but you won't have to pay those fees. And I think that's way more important than getting your silver 7 days earlier, especially if your goal is to just put it in your safe and stack it like I am. But that's not the only fee that you can avoid. Take a look at the shipping fee. So if you were to order $199 or less from SD Bullion, they charge you $9.95 for shipping. If you bought $199.01 or higher, you get that shipping free. So if we go back to our maple example, let's say we're gonna just get 5 of these, we're gonna have to pay shipping, and that is not cheap on such a small order. So if we look at my checkout right here, let's imagine that we are gonna pay with a credit card and we are gonna only buy 5 ounces, so we're gonna pay for that shipping. Look at what happens here. So $33.62 per ounce comes out to $168.10. But if we were to pay with a credit card and only get 5 ounces, so we have to pay shipping, this is more like what it looks like. So $33.62 plus that $1.40, like we said, $35.02. Now we multiply that by 5. Now we're actually paying $175.10, but we're under the $199, so we're going to pay $9.95 for shipping. So in reality, our total is going to be $185.05. If we divide that by 5, we are actually paying $37 per ounce instead of that $33.62. Now at this point, $185.05 is not that far off from what it would just cost us to buy 6 and mail a check. So if we do $33.62 and then we multiply it by 6 and then we subtract our $185.05, the difference is only $16.67. So in other words, for less than 20 bucks, you're going to get another ounce of silver. You're not going to pay the credit card fees. You're not going to pay the shipping fees. You're going to get it shipped to you for that exact price, $33.62 per ounce. Now, the only fee that cannot be avoided here is if you live in a state that taxes bullion. And if you do, write your senators, write your House of Representatives members, whatever you need to do. Start a petition with other stackers, go to CoinShop, start petitions, whatever you need to do to get it abolished, because it has been abolished very recently in multiple states, including Arkansas. And I believe that the dominoes are going to continue to fall because, in my opinion, silver and gold should never be taxed. And it just shouldn't. It just shouldn't be taxed. There's a million reasons. We're not going to get into it here. They should not be sales taxing gold and silver. That's my opinion. Guys, let me know what you think, though, with today's video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe before you go. I really appreciate you guys being here. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.